Coming up, we've worked hard to bring you another great episode. You know what would make my day? If you listen, yes, but you can really make me smile by subscribing. You can go to offthenose.com or on whatever platform you're using right now. They all have that little subscribe button. Go there right now, click that, and boom, happy Kelly. If that's not enough, you can like us on Facebook, follow us on Insta and Twitter. You can share the episode with your friends or colleagues. So many options to show your love. But let's just start simple and subscribe today, right now. Don't put it off. You guys rock. Hey everyone, on today's show, we have Cooper Krauss from tech firm FullScale, also related to Startup Hustle. Yes, so what are we talking about? All things entrepreneur. Starting your own gig. It's what we talk about all the time. It is off the nose. And Cooper himself, as a millennial, 28-year-old, is living an off-the-nose life. We hear how he got here. And most importantly, we talk about the blessing that COVID actually has given us, because we all have the opportunity now to go out on our own. And companies like FullScale are helping us do that. So join me for my conversation with Cooper Krauss and get ready to start your own gig. Let's go.
Gotta get it how it goes now. You gotta take it off the nose. It's off the nose. Gotta get back in control now. Let's stop believing in ourselves. It's off the nose.
Excited to have you on, Cooper. I get to point out your age because I figured the rules are if you're under 40, then we can talk about your age. So it's my show. I've declared that's the rule. But
I can dig that.
I believe you're 28. You're in your 20s. Yeah. And, on this show, we celebrate people living off the nose lives at whatever point they are in their life. And so pretty incredible. You're over global sales for a tech recruiting firm, FullScale. And I know you've got your Startup Hustle shirt on, so we can talk about that affiliation. Very cool show as well. But just, represent the 20-year-olds today, the 20-somethings. And, talk to me about, especially today, there's so much angst and anxiety and fear, but at some point, you made the decision to go to college and to get your degree and to choose a path. So let's start back there. And how did that happen? And who was a mentor in your life, or how did you know what the hell you were going to do next?
Yeah. I think the first thing that drove me to just to get in the classroom at college was just the fact that nobody else in my family had done it. And extremely grateful for all the resources and positions that my parents had put me in, because based off of compared like my childhood to their childhood, they were dealt a really shit hand, and both of them were. And so they put themselves, both of them really came from pretty rough backgrounds, and they put us in a good position to do what we needed to do to kind of level up a little bit. And my dad put a basketball in my hand really early on. And that was what allowed me to get away from the environment that I grew up in, which is a pretty rough neighborhood. And then a lot of the stuff that was going on that's just associated with that space. So for example, I have 7 siblings, and 2 of them they're convicted felons. They've been to prison a couple times.
Wow.
And so that became a part of your reality. But then I happened to be decent enough at basketball to start traveling and seeing different things and seeing different types of lifestyles. And I just started recognizing, like, all right, I have the opportunity to use this to get me somewhere, to elevate me and my family. Not that I'm not extremely grateful for what my parents are doing for me, because I think from a value standpoint, integrity, being brutally honest with myself and the people that I talk to, doing the right thing. That type of stuff was heavily ingrained in me. And then it's like, okay, how do I do that? But and then at the same time, take the pretension out of being successful in a white collar sense. So that was kind of what drove me to get to college and just try to change the dynamic of the family.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because I don't know if all of your siblings were in the house in the same environment, same time, and so forth, but we really are individuals, right? So as you said, some took the wrong path and veered off, and some didn't. Travel and exposure and keeping busy and team sports, huge part of probably why you're on the right path.
Yeah, and what's really, I've thought about that before. It's really interesting because so half of my siblings are step siblings, but we've been that way since we were 6 or 7. Like my parents got divorced pretty early on, so they feel like real siblings, biological siblings. But it's interesting because so 3 of my stepbrothers, one's 2 weeks older than I am, one's a year younger, and another one is 2 years younger. So we're all really in the same space. And then I've got an older brother who's 35, and then a couple older sisters. But we were all in the house at the same time. But I kind of think about it like my parents were also different people as they got older, and
parented differently a little.
Yeah, they had more experience as a parent by the time they got to me.
Right.
You know? And so, yeah, I mean, it's almost like, it's really interesting, especially because even though they aren't my biological siblings, some of them, we had a similar nurture, different nature. And so it was just interesting because we all have very, very different paths. Like if you look at all 7 or 8 of us, it's very, very, very different. So yeah,
it really does come down to the DNA, you think?
I mean, no, I think, I think again, my experience with basketball, but more so, the town that I'm from is about an hour north of Kansas City. There's about 75,000 people there. And so you don't have to be that good at sports to get some recognition in a town that small. And so like I went to the one big high school in St. Joe, happened to be okay at basketball. And then so you kind of end up in this group of people that are doing good things for the school, making the school look good. And then I kind of just I got attached to those kids, and those kids happened to come from very different backgrounds than I did. And I started seeing okay, this is what I could do for
be.
Yeah. And it's delicate, right? Because I never want to, like I said, come off ungrateful for what my parents have done for me. But I just saw like, okay, there's different levels to this, and I want to take it to the next level.
Yeah. You are as good as the friends you keep.
Yeah.
I mean, so there's some of that.
I definitely fired a lot of friends in high school and put myself around the right people for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And then, so you went on to school and they say, declare a major. Are you telling me that you just completely knew what you were going to do?
I think I had 4 majors.
Good for you. All right. Now I know. Now you're normal.
Yeah. I mean, I tested out so much shit. And again, I was the first person in my family to step in a college classroom. So I had no idea. And honestly, I didn't even know where I was going to college until April of my senior year. Because I was like, whatever school is going to give me a little bit of money to go play ball, that's where I'm going.
Totally.
And so I went to this really tiny school in Nebraska called Peru State. I mean, there are less kids at the college than there were at my high school. I mean, it was, but I was like, I gotta go do this. And so, yeah, I mean, I did physical education, economics, philosophy, and then ended up with a communications degree after going to 3 different colleges.
Yep. But you knew you were getting a degree? Like that was something that was strong inside of you? No doubt.
Absolutely. And it took me, like my undergrad was 6 years. And I love telling that story because kids need to know, like, number one, the 9 to 5 and the 4-year degree, that shit is disappearing as we speak.
Totally. And we want to talk more about that with tech, but yes.
Yeah. And so I'm just like, it doesn't really matter. You just have to know where you want to end up. And you don't even have to have that very clear when you're young. You just have to know, I'm taking actions that are going to put me in a positive spot. I just don't know what that outcome might be yet, and that will formulate over time.
Love that.
And honestly, I get married in about 2.5 months, and there's a direct correlation between me beginning to date Paige, my fiance, and me getting my shit together too. So I have her to thank for a lot of that, but yeah.
That's really, so in 2.5 months, you're getting married?
October 24th. Yeah. I mean, right now it's a go. So we'll see.
Is this a Zoom wedding?
No, not right now. I mean, our mayor has been pretty, like, had a mask requirement for several months now and hasn't really let up. And right now, like, if we were to get married tomorrow, our venue has no capacity limit. So, I mean, we would have to wear masks, but yeah. So hopefully by October 24th, it's even better. But yeah,
that's fabulous.
Yeah.
So when you look at, your history and you look at some of the adversity going on right now, because that's when I think about, younger kids. The younger you are, usually, depending on your upbringing, but you've not gone through adversity the way older people have. And certainly maybe not in reference to your career, financially. And so it's a tough time, I think, for a lot of kids, because older people sort of been there, done that. Maybe they've saved money differently. So when you look at, you're an expert, right, at identifying skill sets in people. You recruit, correct me if I'm wrong, but you recruit.
I do not actually. I'm all sales.
You're all sales.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we really don't, and that's a good distinction to make. Not to plug shamelessly too much, but
plug.
So we have a team of 200 software developers that are permanently employed, and then I'm responsible for identifying clients that need software development services. So it's not really, it's a form of staff augmentation, but it's a little bit more like long-term engagement. Like, we're going to help you build an app from scratch. And it could be a data science, machine learning algorithm. Like, they're pretty complex IT projects that are usually, 12 months or longer.
But what you're selling is your ability to bring the right people to the right project.
Correct. Yes. I just don't do any of the recruiting myself.
Got it. Okay. So you can't read people at all. No, I'm totally kidding. You have to be able to, that is what sales is all about. So what are you seeing right now?
So I want to touch back on something you mentioned, and it does answer this question. There's something that the millennial generation and the Gen Z that's coming that is unique, a unique experience, and there is more room for comparing yourself to others and insecurity than anybody in my parents' generation ever had to deal with because of social media.
Yeah.
So that's something that I think is a unique challenge, that if you can, if you're parented well and you have the right people around you, you can see that adversity that you might deal with in terms of, like, damn, I wish I had that life, or I wish I was that successful, or whatever it is. And you can stop having those wishes and say, okay, let's put some freaking action into place and get to where I want to get and make myself feel better, opposed to comparing myself. So you mentioned young people not going through adversity as much as older people. And traditionally that's true. But there is that added level of, like I said, that room for insecurity with social media that I think young people can use as fuel to get shit done.
You're right. You're right. And, forgive me, I'm showing my age by skipping over that, because I am super sensitive. I have a 20-year-old and a 17-year-old. And so super sensitive to the effects of social media and this, the realities versus what we see, they're not the same, obviously. Right. And it can be super depressing, especially now, because, I mean, what's going on in the streets and what's going on with the pandemic affect everybody. I know they say young people are out having fun. This is a true statement, but they're still anxious.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it is just a tumultuous time, and it's delicate to navigate. And yeah, I mean, it's one of those, it's an odd, sensitive situation, because you want to, like I said, be really grateful for the situation that you're in, and take advantage of that in the right way. But then when you start considering the fact that, like, it's probably not a coincidence that, I'm a 28-year-old white dude who graduated college with a 2.7, and those, like, me being a white male it's made my life easier in ways that I'll never understand.
Right.
And so
in ways that we will never understand. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's important to keep myself grounded. But at the same time, like, I did come from, I've had challenges. And I had to take, like, I want to put myself and my family in the best position possible. And so it's like, how do you balance, like, wanting to be super, super focused on what you need to do for yourself, but also, being involved in what's important? It's tough.
Sure. It is tough. How do you feel when you see what's, the very outspoken people, Black Americans specifically, talking about, wanting reparations and wanting equality and opportunity, but also equality in outcome. And when you have gone through some of your own adversity and didn't come from, I'm going to say, privilege from an environmental standpoint, your environment, how do you respond to that?
It's not really my place, I don't think. And I know that's it's probably a generic, a little bit of a vanilla answer. And that's probably where I'll leave it. But I just don't think it's really my spot or your spot or anybody who's white to speak on that, because that's just, it's our job to amplify Black voices, and, like, our perspective doesn't really
matter.
It doesn't. We just need to shut up and listen. So
yeah, I agree. I guess I certainly, with different guests I've had on, it's seems more positive when I'm talking to people who want to listen to both sides. And what I mean by that is, yes, I do agree, shut up and listen, but also it's okay. I'm white and I only know what I know. So I want to learn, but I should be able to say how I feel or ask questions and not, there's a lot of hate on the internet right now. And I think that's where technology is a negative, because we use this platform that we can hide behind, and we either hide and don't say anything, or we hide or we try to say something and we're shot down for not saying it the right way. So it's a tough time right now. But, if we look at your industry with tech, a lot of conversation was around that. Certainly all the organizations and the media are going after every industry. Okay, who's the most diverse? Who's not, right? And tech got a lot of a beat down, if you will, for not being as diverse as it should be, with females too, not just people of color.
Right.
What are you seeing? I mean, when you look at projects come together, do you see representation?
I'm fortunate enough to see quite a bit of representation, but I think that's because our clients are virtually all startups. So we're very focused on supporting the startup community, which is probably my favorite thing about what we do, because startups and small businesses are the fabric of the country and why we can do so much cool shit. So I see a lot of it just because you're going to see more diversity in the tech startup space, because they're generally going to be younger people. Like, a lot of my clients are just a couple of years older than me.
Okay.
So they're young, innovative tech founders that are trying to shift the landscape of whatever industry they're in. And then, I mean, for FullScale ourselves, all of our developers sit in Cebu City, Philippines. So, there's certainly diversity there, right? We've got a team of 200 now. There's perspective. There's probably a perspective that's 200 jobs that aren't domestic, which is a fair point, except for our model wouldn't make sense if we could fill the jobs here. We wouldn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, well, and I mean, there's 350,000 open development jobs in the U.S. right now that can't be filled because the talent's not available.
The talent's not available.
And
so what about that? How do we get more people interested in tech?
It's got to become a part of. That's a really good question, and I'm certainly not an expert on how to make that happen. But I would assume that it's something that's got to be, and it will be, just because it's becoming more of like a necessity and just a part of everyday life, is getting people introduced to tech really, really soon. Just like I used to work for an engineering firm, and we were really focused on bringing in more female engineers. And we hired some outside consultants that did a huge project for us. And the results were really that females just weren't that interested in engineering. But then we took it further, and it was like, well, they're just not getting introduced to it as much as males might be. And, there's some
early on, like high school and middle school.
Or earlier. Yeah. Like STEM programs.
Yes.
We're like, okay, people need to focus on getting females more involved in that. And I think we just need to do the same thing with tech. And I think that will just be a natural progression. I've got a nephew that's 8 years old, and I think he has an iPad at school every day. So, I mean, that's just going to be something that I think happens naturally, but it certainly wouldn't hurt to speed that up and build a program that ensures that everybody's getting, their fair shake. But,
maybe some of it comes back to what we were talking about earlier about education. So requirements to get into the field, if they can start to look different, which I could go on and on about education, because I think education needs to completely look different. And then I think we would get kids more engaged in different fields and so forth. But this whole 4 years and maybe 60% of the classes are nothing I'm interested in, that's gotta be outdated, please. Yeah.
Well, that's why I like the tech programs that are popping up. There's a company called Centric, I think is the name of it. And it's like a 4-month boot camp, and you can be a developer in 4 months. Now it's not cheap, but it's a hardcore coding boot camp, and you can legitimately go get a job afterwards. And that's all that really matters. If you can pass a coding test for what you say you can code in, you're good. It doesn't matter if you did American Civilization 351 and
right.
In your general studies, can you bang out some really amazing code? Cool.
Yeah. So are we becoming less of a well-rounded society if we don't go, include Shakespeare in our coding degree path? And we're all going to be very singular focused, but better at the things we do. But
damn, that's a really good question.
Maybe it's less small talk at the cocktail parties.
Yeah, for sure. I can't. I'm not good at that. I blow right by that. I'll get into any topic people want to get into as long as it's not the weather.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's a good question, and honestly, that's when I look back on college, I certainly gained more and learned more from the people that I met there, and just the experience of. I look back fondly on just walking across campus, headphones in, just damn, I'm really here doing this, figuring out how to be an adult, and then meeting all the people that I met, meeting people that challenge everything that I believe in. I had a lot of beliefs that were completely shattered when I went to college, and I'm so thankful for that.
Yeah.
And that's something that you might not get if you just go to high school and then do a 4-month boot camp. and then go be a developer or whatever it may be, kind of like a trade school, you definitely, miss out. And so I think it's, hey, let's definitely adjust the way that college is structured and priced.
And price, yes.
Yeah.
Can you do that before my son graduates, please?
Yeah, I would love. I'll be paying for a while. That's for sure.
Oh my God.
But it's like, let's have the option. If you just want to go, if you're the person where you don't like college, like I really don't feel like college was for me. I got the degree because I told myself I was going to do it for me and for my family, but it definitely wasn't for me. Like it's just,
you didn't have this burning inside. Like, man, I can't wait to get to that lecture today.
Yeah, I was ready to get to work. Like and talk about off the nose. That's why I was excited to come on here, because that has, like, if it weren't for off the nose actions and opportunities and decisions, I don't know where I'd be at. I mean, so when I moved to Kansas City in 2014, I was serving tables at a restaurant downtown in the Power and Light District, and I was still in school full time. I was waiting on a group of like 12 or 13 people. I checked them out. Everything went well. And this guy comes up to me and goes, "Hey man, if you can stay organized and call and collected, like you gave us great customer service, if you can do that, you can come sell insurance." And I was like, all right, cool. Like I'm definitely going to get off the serving floor immediately. And
he was a customer, Cooper?
Yeah, he was one of my customers. Yeah.
So he was watching you.
Yeah, he was my table. He was part of that party.
Mm-hmm.
And and then he was like, "Hey man, if you want to come do that," I'm like, "Yeah, let's do it." Like I didn't think about it. I'm like, I just knew it was a better opportunity.
See, you said yes.
Yeah.
That's how you live an off the nose life. You say yes. You have your head up. You're aware. Yeah.
And I had no idea what I was getting into. I just knew I didn't want this at all. And so for like 2 weeks, I studied to pass my property and casualty insurance test to sell auto and home insurance. Passed it, went to work for them, and I was making less money doing that than because serving in downtown Kansas City, I made good money. And at selling insurance, I was making $10 an hour, and my commissions were $10. Like so I was like, I'm going to do this full time, and I went to school full time for 2 years. And by the time I graduated, I had 2 years of like cutthroat, grassroots, cold call sales experience and a degree.
Tough job.
Oh yeah, it was terrible. I mean, it was like my second day was like, here's a stack of papers with names, addresses, and phone numbers. Let's see what you can do.
Yeah.
And so it was really great experience. And then that also gave me a really an advantage, because by the time I graduated, I had 2 years of experience of real sales. And so what comes after that was, I'm getting ready to graduate, and there's a staffing firm, a recruiting firm called Robert Half. It's like a $5 billion publicly traded company. And they had posted a job for one of their clients that was like an entry-level sales rep. And I was like, oh, cool. I'm going to call and see if they want to put me in touch with this client. I leave a voicemail, and the manager over that division, she called me back and said, "Hey, that was a great voicemail. Do you actually want to come talk to us about an internal job?" And I was like, she was like, I could just tell from that voicemail. And I was calling about the job they had posted for one of their clients.
Right.
So I had no interest in Robert Half, because I didn't even really, know that was, I thought it was just recruiting. It wasn't just sales. So I go in, I interview with like 4 people in one day and get offered the job.
And you said?
Yes.
Yes.
Like, yeah, let's do it.
Go. Yeah.
And so from there, I mean, I spent 2 years there and got a couple taps on the shoulders for performing well, and got to, work in 3 different divisions, and, put me in a really good spot. So yeah, I mean, saying yes to shit that I was unaware of where it would take me. I just knew it was going to be towards a better life.
Yeah.
It put me in a really good spot.
That is what it's all about. That's a great, great story. And because it's just beginning, and you'll continue to say yes and look up and be aware. That's awesome. Are you seeing in your business, how have you seen it affected by the pandemic right now?
So I want to be delicate about this response, because it's obviously this has been terrible for a lot of people, but there were going to be winners and there were going to be losers of this
Always.
scenario. And we offer remote software development services, and so companies go through layoffs, but tech still needs to be serviced, and we are a cost-effective model that doesn't make you compromise on quality. I think there's sometimes that association with remote development, but quite frankly, they might be. They're really damn good developers, and so you get software developers that can build you badass applications for what might be 50% of the cost when you compare it to a US developer. So we're above where we were at pre-COVID.
Wow. And do you think some of that is, because I'm seeing this, some of that in Startup Hustle is probably seeing some of this. A lot of people have been laid off. A lot of people are at home saying, wow, I kind of like this new work-life balance. Maybe I want to do my own gig. Why am I going to report to the man in corporate? Is that a lot of it?
Yeah. I mean, I think COVID is a blessing in disguise in that sense.
I agree.
So for example, I mean, and this is not it's not really tech startup related, but a good story of that is my sister. So my older sister, she's kind of followed in the footsteps of my mom in serving. So my mom's been a server for 40 years, and my sister has been doing it for 10 years. She's a couple of years older than me, and my mom and we're constantly telling her, like, hey, you can do something different. Like, you don't have to do this. COVID hit, their restaurant shut down, and she went and took a commission-only insurance sales job.
No way.
Yeah. And I was like, you would have never done that if it weren't for COVID.
No.
Like because you make good money serving. If you're good at it, you can make good money. And
it's why people get stuck.
And you get it that night. You get the money that day.
Right.
Yeah. And so, I mean, it's been, and now she's got insurance licenses that say, hey, I can do this. And so her life is different forever, like automatically. And so, God. I know it's awesome. And so, I mean, that's not so much tech related, but I think that's a good parallel to, like, they're sitting back and like, oh shit, there's just unlimited opportunity. Again, if I put action in place. Like, I was on a podcast with a kid yesterday who's probably 3 years younger than me. He got furloughed and started a podcast.
Why not?
And it's about rising to the challenge. Like, it's called Rise to the Challenge. He's super sharp, motivated, hungry, and he's on Matchmaker. And he's like, I just want to talk to people who want to share their story.
Right.
And now he's got his job back, and his job's like, keep doing this. This is cool.
Yeah. So he has passion over here and the money over here, because we do have to still pay the bills. So off the nose, it isn't about being irresponsible, but it is about parallel paths to try to get there. Or, like you said, the positive side to COVID, which what happened with your sister, for sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure Startup Hustle, and for the audience that don't know, Startup Hustle is a podcast. Mm-hmm. And they
I had to represent.
Yeah, I love the representation on the t-shirt. And so, and tell the audience how Startup Hustle is related to FullScale.
Yeah. So our co-founders, Matt DeCoursey and Matt Watson, they've been in the entrepreneurial space for about 10 to 15 years. Matt DeCoursey, he's probably most well known. Maybe for Startup Hustle now, but previously it was for a book called $1 Million Bedroom, which is actually one of those. So basically the story is, maxed out $8,000 credit card to start an online business in his spare bedroom, and like it blew up. And he, by the way, he doesn't have a college degree. The dude's just a hustler. And so he started that a while ago. He's written a couple best-selling books now. He's he's the owner of GigaBook. Yes. Yeah. So you're scheduling cool. Yeah, he runs that. Been around for 8 years now. And then Matt Watson, our other co-founder, he started a company in his basement early 2000s, like an automotive CRM software. And in 2012, it sold for $150 million.
Good for him.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what was his background? Was he educated?
Yeah. He's a technical founder. Yeah. So he's a developer by trade. And so they created FullScale. So they have a lot of experience using remote development resources to scale their companies. So they started FullScale to be the partner that they always kind of wanted. And then they were like, man, we've got some good reach. We've made a name for ourselves. We're known in the startup community. Let's start talking about what it takes to scale a company, to what's it like to win, what's it like to fail, fall flat on your face. Like, why does fundraising suck? Let's cover everything tech. And then like, well, we should start like recording this and bringing other people on.
Absolutely.
So now I think we release 5 or 6 episodes a week. In the month of June, I think we hit 60,000 downloads, and we were at number 17 in the entrepreneurship category on Apple. So it's blown up, and it's just because they don't filter anything. Like, they're just exactly who they are. They bring on guests that are the same way, and it's like, look, you can go be an entrepreneur really, really easily today, more easy than ever before. But here's all the shit that's going to suck about it. Like,
right.
Don't twist it. Like, don't get it twisted. It's going to be rough, but here's the upside. And so they bring on other successful entrepreneurs that are usually working for tech startups that we would love to work with. Right. And they come on and share their passion and experience, and it's awesome. It
is a cool show, and it's, not pretentious, and you're right. There's no filter. I listened to one of their shows the other day. That they were arguing over the name of what this entrepreneur does, and one of the Matts was like, "Well, you have to change the name because nobody can spell or say what that is." It was really funny.
Yeah, that was the neuro-linguistic program.
That's it. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a lot for what you do. Yeah.
I was laughing because I was driving and listening. I said, did he just, he's basically telling this guy, your name sucks.
Yeah.
Which is fun. I mean, it's a fun show to hear. Like you said, they don't water it down. It's not vanilla.
No, not at all. Yeah. I mean, those guys are just, and that's why you go be an entrepreneur. So you can be exactly who you are, and you don't have to worry about this, the navigating a corporate landscape. And, that's what I've always worked for really large publicly traded organizations before I joined here. And that's by far my favorite part is I dress like this. I come from suit and tie, and I dress like this for work. And
do you have pants on, Cooper?
I do have shorts on, I promise.
Doesn't matter. We're not filtered either.
Yeah, no, it's funny.
Doesn't it feel better to have pants on? These people that say that they only dress from the top up, I just don't feel right.
Yeah, I don't think I could do that, but it's funny because one of my good friends, we live in the same apartment complex, and he's in a little bit more of a traditional space. Like, a lot of his clients are older and they still dress nice, so he'll wear like a nice button down and then gym shorts, but they never
So he still fits in.
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
I would think that the energy around what you get to do is amazing, right? Because we do feed off of each other. And to me, there's nothing more excited. I grew up small business, dad, entrepreneur, not college educated, became super successful. Gave me a great life, and he's certainly my mentor. And I went the corporate route and have since, said enough of that. And I'm doing my own entrepreneurial thing. So it's in me, and it's the fire in your belly, in my opinion, is that route.
For sure.
Rarely do you see corporate executives feeling the fire in their belly. I don't know. I tend to hear more complaining out of those friends.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because they also don't get to be exactly who they are.
Exactly.
Right? But they get really comfortable with that fat paycheck. I mean, that's really,
what it is.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and it's also, to be fair though, I mean, if it's hard to justify if you're raising a family and let's say you're the, whether you're the husband or the wife, what if only one of you is working and you're making 200 grand a year? Like, you can't just go, you know what? I know that we're trying to save for our kids' college, but I'm just going to go start a company. Like, it's not an easy conversation. So it's hard to get out of that too, if that's your situation.
That's right. I mean, I was a single mom raising 2 kids, and if you get them used to a certain environment, it's been a few years since I knew I got to get out of this rat race. Yeah. And I choose to wake up and embrace and love every day. But, I knew this couldn't be forever. But to make that change and affect a lot of other people, not just yourself, can be challenging. So you have to run a parallel path. So you're meeting cool, interesting people with guts, going for it every day.
Putting it all on the line. Yeah.
Putting it on the line. You're hearing some challenges, I'm sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's not a lot of VCs and PEs writing checks right now. Like, there's not a lot of venture capital and private equity firms that are like, yeah, I would love to write you a $2 million check. Like, it's tough right now. But there's still a lot happening. I mean, I live on Crunchbase, right? And so there's still a lot of people getting funded, and obviously there are some really, really like high impact product ideas and companies that are coming out of COVID to support like health pandemics and just the healthcare system, because of what they've learned from COVID, how unprepared we were. So I haven't been fortunate enough to work with any of those companies directly, but I see a lot, and it's like, again, pandemic has been terrible, but this has brewed so many great innovative ideas for healthcare experts that, maybe they are healthcare executives with a ton of cash, and they're like, okay, I can make a real difference because I've got this money and I know how to fix this pocket, and I'm going to go do it.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, we work with some really cool, like for example, there's a company called Healthy Hip Hop, and the founder is Roy Scott, and there's a tech accelerator called Techstars. It's kind of it's all over the U.S. and he got funded out of Techstars, and basically it's an e-learning platform for youth education through like gamified and cartoon hip hop characters.
Oh my God. Okay. My kids might have attended this.
It's badass. It's so cool.
This is badass, is right.
Yeah. And so we've helped him build that from the ground up. And so like, that's just one example of just some really cool stuff that we get to do. So yeah.
That is super exciting.
And he's also a minority business owner. So it's fun to be part of that.
That's way cool. Females, are chicks stepping up?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I think that we just hired a director of strategic partnerships. Her name's Jessica Powell, and she, for 7 or 8 years has been she's been helping startups secure funding. And her whole goal is to drive equality in the startup space between men and women.
Oh, I love this.
Like she is hyper focused on evening things out, and she's badass. Like, did not get in her way. Like she is awesome. And so when she started, she sent me. We're working on a list right now. I mean, she's got so many like tech accelerator and incubator hubs that are all female focused. And so now it's like, okay, how do we work with these thousands of women that are making a name for their space or for themselves in this space, or trying to, how do we support that? And so we're coming up with a plan right now to do what we can to help them get where they want to get. So that being said, I'm seeing a huge list of women entrepreneurs that are trying to take it to the next level. And then we also
I think there's a lot of black-owned specific kinds of groups. I had a startup on the other day, Orion Brown from Black Travel Box, and she was saying how many Black specific funding type groups are popping up too.
Yeah, absolutely. And to add on to that, because it might be fun for you to listen to, and any listeners, but it is female focused. Underneath of Startup Hustle, we've got a network of 3 hosts that don't work for FullScale, and one of them is actually Roy Scott from Healthy Hip Hop. Another one is Lauren Conaway, and so she started a nonprofit woman-focused entrepreneurial group here in Kansas City that's got thousands of female entrepreneurs. It's called Innovate Her KC. Yeah, and so she brings on powerful female leaders and entrepreneurs in the Kansas City area and in the U.S. I think once a week for podcasts. So we're definitely doing everything that we can to give them a platform as well.
I love this. I know you have to go. We have a hard stop. Final words, Cooper. Final words. How do we inspire more people to get up, say yes, go into, whether it's the tech field or just to start up their life with something new?
Failure just isn't that bad. Like, I think that's what it comes down to. Like, it's really rewarding to be on the other side of screwing up, because then you're like, oh, all right, that was it really is not. It's never it never really is like a done deal. Like, you're not completely defeated. Like, you just kind of screwed up. So you just it's as I'm saying this, I'm like, man, I want some tangible action I can put behind this for people, but you do just have to take a leap. Like, you just have to go for it. And I just heard this the other day. I actually think it was Will Smith that said it. But he said something like, if you can't get over the fear, just do it scared. And it's like, yeah.
Oh, wow. If you can't get over the fear, just do it scared. But just do it.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'll wrap with that. I think
I like that.
You just got to go for it.
Yeah, you got to go for it. Well, you did, and I wish you continued success. Let's stay in touch with FullScale and Startup Hustle and yourself. And good luck with the wedding.
Thank you. Fingers crossed.
May it be in person.
Yeah, that's right.
Thanks, Cooper. Have a great day.
Thanks, Kelly. You too.
Okay.
Better change up your perspective. It's something new.
Hope you guys enjoyed the show today. Remember our little talk before the show? Yep. Don't forget to subscribe, like, follow, share, all that jazz. It matters, people. You matter. Thanks again for listening. See you soon.